YouTube live? Hell yeah. All right, it's going. Can I also... Oh, look at that. Recording double time.
Boom.
All right. I don't see that it's live, but I'm sure it is. We're going to wait a little bit and one, see if we're live, and two, see if we can see ourselves live. Live. TikTok is live. Ooh, make sure we mute that. And YouTube. Oh, and it says it's live as well. Nice. And we're off.
How do you know that you're live?
I'm over here checking it out.
Oh, like you have it online live?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Try to see if I can gather the comments, wherever those are. All right. So we're going to be making, and I have, if you're on YouTube, I've got my little Rodecaster video chimed in with the little picture-in-picture all the way down. But I'm going to be starting with a pork tenderloin, one of the most fabulous things in the universe. I don't know, I guess because it's pork. But what I want to do is I'm going to trim it up a little bit. I'm going to release the, there we go. I'm going to release a little bit of the fat and the silver skin in that. And do it, like, is this mandatory? It's not mandatory. But it makes it just, you know, in some people's eyes, a better product.
Oops.
That's why I was cursing earlier. I'm sort of having a technical difficulty already as I have pork all over my fingers. Hold please. Don't mess with that, it doesn't work.
Okay, not
It's
touching.
trash. So we'll see that where that camera is. Looks like it's okay. All right, so back to the pork tenderloin. I'm going to, looks like, sorry, I gotta be down here for TikTok. But we're gonna be putting some of this together and make sure I don't knock that off as well. Oh, I guess it was the jiggling of the table. So because of that, I'm not gonna worry too much about, let me get back on to here so we can see both. So again, we're back to the silver skin. I'm gently taking this off. We want to cut it into the meat, of course, but we don't want to take much meat off. The silver skin is, you know, it's something called connective tissue. This one is what's called elastin. So it's going to be the most tough connective tissue. Some connective tissue like collagen will break down under slow moist heat, you know, possibly making it a little more tender, creating some gelatin. But this one, it's got to be mechanically separated like ground meat or removed, because it does not become tender. You can cook this stuff for 32 years and it's still going to be quite tough. We're going to let that go. However, I'm going to turn the induction on. We're going to get a little bit of heat going. We'll turn her up to pretty high and wash my hands. Back to the brine conversation. So with the brine, I'm going to take a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of sugar. And do I have to eyeball it, or do I have to measure it? No. One easy trick is, so I guess we can start by what a brine is. What a brine is, it's a salt, sugar, pepper. I'm going to use a garlic powder mixture. Why do we use a brine? A brine sets on the meat for, up to a day, 24 hours. So the meat is seasoned, if you will, with that brine. So this is the brine right here. This is the brine right here. So salt, pepper, sugar, a little granulated garlic. The most important parts are salt and sugar. You can go equal amounts of salt and sugar, or you can go a little bit less sugar, like half the amount. And that's typically what I do. I used to do the full amount of sugar, but this one, I don't really think you need it. You do need, well, you don't need the full amount of, what's it called, sugar for the brine. The thing is, it balances with the salt. It works delightfully when you're eating the meat. It helps retain moisture when it's cooked, so it's harder to get that dried out feel if it's slightly overcooked. And it seasons the meat all the way down to the middle. So I'm heating up our pan. And I have, God bless you.
Sorry, good thing I'm a
A little
mile away.
obnoxious. Then I have an array of veggies. I'm not exactly sure what veggies I'm going to use yet. So I have 2 of these pork tenderloins. One I'm going to cook today. The other one I'm going to let brine overnight, and then we'll cook it again tomorrow. So I'm going to try to become live daily. And so I used to be a culinary instructor. I just Friday finished my job as the executive chef of the Indianapolis Colts, a swell organization, like truly. Like the people who work there, dynamite. Part of me wants to move this and start prepping my veg, but we're about right there. So I have my tongs. It's mandatory to click your tongs twice when you pick those up. If not, we know you're a rookie. If you want to spin the tongs, that's up to you, but a click is mandatory. All right, so you see a little bit of that smoky action. For the proper sear, we have to have, why do we sear? Let's start back there. Why do we sear? We sear in order to get that Maillard reaction, or the caramelization, or a little bit of crispness to the crust, a little bit of beautiful color, that browning, and then the flavor is going to be a little more intense, a little more dynamic. So when we brine, we want the meat to be dry, which it is. I just added some salt. If I wanted to come back with some paper towels and hit it lightly, I could, but it's not needed. Then we want to go, so dry meat, and then hot pan. And then really a minimal amount of oil, because if we have too much oil, then you start frying, and then you're not going to get that nice sear. So back to what I've done. I've taught college culinary for 11 years, executive chef of the Colts and Butler University / Compass Group for about 4 years. And then, I had a food truck for 4 years as well. So I'm well versed in cooking, so that's what I like to do, is I like to teach people how to cook. Let's go back to this one here. Looks like we're becoming more focused, in focus. I think this one, yeah, oh, that's my cut. There's all 3 of them. Ooh, sorry for making you sick. All right, well, that's me talking while searing, so you can see possibly that I'm pressing the meat down just a little bit. Connection is going to get a better sear as well. When you have whatever you have, meaning the lighter the product, the less weight it's got, so it's not going to make much connect. Oh, I feel like our fire alarms we just hooked up are going to go off. So let me flip this over to, oh, that's actually a little bit dark anyway. I was talking too much, not paying attention to my extreme high heat induction cooker. So we're a little bit charred there. So that's what you get. You have, that nice high heat. You're pressing it down. We can see some different variations of darkness. So there is a such thing as burnt, right? Caramelized, yes. Burnt, no. I'd say this is still going to be fine, but we can see that it's not perfect, which is okay. So I've got a sear. I'm going to shut this off. And I'm just going to let that hang out as I get the rest of my items together. So I have a cutting board going on. I'm actually going to bring this over back here. I've got the stove preheating to 420 degrees. This one is not convection. If you want a convection, of course, that would be totally fine. But now I'm going to start cutting up some items. So let me forget which one is what. Yeah, I guess I can tell you what I have. I've got pineapple, cauliflower, asparagus, fingerling potatoes, bell peppers, onions, garlic, fresh herbs, which I just picked, rosemary, thyme, no, not thyme, oregano, mint. I don't think I grabbed the basil.
You need me to go get some?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm silently looking and thinking. Very sorry for that. Less than exciting watching someone think.
Well, the good news is on TikTok, they really can't see you thinking. Because your head's cut off.
Sorry for cutting my head off, kids. So when I cut the pineapple, I'm going to have a sharp knife, and really the serrated knife, I do like the serrated knife on the pineapple. You want to, this one obviously is nearly fermented. It's well aged, this pineapple. We'll trim up some of that. But we want to respect the curve anytime we're cutting the pineapple. Or any fruit or anything in general. If we cut straight down, we're losing a lot of that good stuff. So the pineapple I'm going to roast with the pork tenderloin. So I'm going to cut it down. Yeah, we can see we're on the other side of fresh here. Which sometimes if you're home, it's okay. Cut these small. This will actually almost break down as I'm cooking, creating a sauce. Let me remove, and I'm going to still use that. And I was going to remove the induction burner. So we've got the claw, right? We're not trying to cut our fingers off. Sometimes it may happen, but we're going to try to not let it happen. So I'm going to go directly into that pork pan. So we see a little bit of that charredness on the pan. The acidity from the pork is going to help that and create, I'm going to get rid of these, create a little bit of a sauce as a break. Oh, sorry, Blue. Just smashed my puppy. Sorry, puppy. Let's go in with a little bit of onion. So the onion, the way I cut it, I'm going to take the top. I'm going to leave the hairy end on. If you want to trim the hairy end, that's kind of a trendy thing to make sure we don't get the dirt, if you will, in the mix. And then as far as how much paper is on there, I call it paper, but it's the onion. And this one really, I'm just going to give this a couple rough chops. I'm thinking, do I need all of that onion? Maybe so, maybe not, you know. I'm super sorry. I don't think I can see any comments if anyone is putting comments. Typically I can, but it's been a while since I've been live on TikTok. So maybe I have to do something else. So the onion is in. And then that's really going to be it as far as that. I'm going to turn this back on. I'm just going to start the cooking process of not the pork necessarily. You can see I'm pulling the pork up. I want to get this onions and pineapple kind of cooking, and then as it starts, it's going to be on the bottom, and then the pork is going to, yeah, you can see that, yeah, some of that char is coming off. Actually, I'm going to get my little wood spoon / scraper and scrape off some of those pieces. I'm going to turn the heat down because I don't really need to sear it. I need to kind of let that liquid from the pineapple come out, and then I'm going to allow, actually I want to throw a little bit of water in there to speed it up. Not a lot, just a little bit. So when we're roasting, you know, we want a dryness in there, but I do have some nice color on the pork, so I'm not necessarily worried about that. And wish I could welcome everyone coming in. I'm not sure. I'll use my touch screen. I can't see the comments, which is tragic. I like the comments. That's the best part. Okay, so I just blew it up. I can see the comments. Oh, thank you, was it Amare, for following. So yeah, all right. So I missed the whole, so many things. But yeah, thank you for joining. Kind of getting back to the live. I truly do love it. It's so fun just to see some comments and answer questions about cooking or about anything else, really. I don't know much anything else, but whatever I do know, I will help you out. Garlic. Let's throw some garlic in there. I want to get 30 or 40 cloves of garlic going on. Just going to give these a rough chop as well. Don't have to do anything crazy. And then this one right here, sometimes we should take that off, but for home cooking, the finesse is out the door. You know what I'm saying? I think if you're a cook or a chef who's been doing it a while, you get me. This is more of that family style before service, where we're leaving, you know, whole pieces of ginger in there, or, you know, big ass garlic chunks or whole herbs. The herbs I'm going to put in towards the end. Yeah, so we're seeing, yeah, we're scraping some of that char off, some of the fond, if you will. I'm going to put the pork back on, and then into the oven this goes. So just don't let me forget it's in there, and don't let me forget when it comes out it was in the oven, and to use a hot pad or something. Now what's next? Oh, those what do they call those, fingerling potatoes I was going to do. Really seemed like a good idea at the time.
Ooh, they do sound like they'll be a great idea.
Well, apparently I've got to use some fingerlings, kids. So with the fingerlings, maybe I was going to do the Hasselback fingerlings. So the Hasselback, where you cut almost all the way through. And maybe we'll stay the Hasselback. So my concern is the pork is now in the oven. I guess I can pull it out because the potatoes are going to take longer than the pork to cook. So I'm going to remove Mr. Pan from the oven so I can get the potatoes going in time. So we'll pull out our, all right, so back to cutting the potatoes. So we've got a super sharp knife. That's always important when you're doing some fine-tuned cutting. One thing you can do is put chopsticks on both sides. That helps to make sure you don't cut all the way down, all the way through, because if you can see, I'm just cutting deep into the potato, not all the way through. So we're gonna hit a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper. Thing with garlic, like a fresh garlic, if it's cut super small, that dry heat and then oil is going to intensify it. It's going to most likely cause that very small, delicate garlic to burn, which we don't want to do. Burnt garlic ain't no fun. You know what I'm saying? Who's got the burnt garlic story to change their life for the worst, of course? Burnt garlic is one of those things, man. If you're starting with, like, showing the recipes will say saute, which means high heat, the onions and garlic together. When you do that, almost every time that garlic is going to burn. Some people, again, maybe they love burnt garlic, but it's not worth it. Start over, because if you're starting with one of the first two ingredients, and then you have other ingredients, you're just going to ruin everything. Not like that little garlic is going to be able to be removed, that burnt flavor. Just like burnt popcorn. You ever make the microwave burnt popcorn? There was a girl at work did that once. She had to throw, this was not her microwave, she had to throw the microwave in the dumpster. She bought a new one, but that's the seriousness of burnt popcorn and burnt garlic. So, one thing too that's often asked of cooks and chefs is, how come I can't get my home food to taste like restaurant food? It's because where am I?
No, you're good.
it's because the amount of seasoning isn't the same, and it's not all kinds of crazy, like blends. It can be, but salt is going to be the most powerful seasoning that we have. So, in order to get it to taste like a restaurant, you have to give it some seasoning. Now, yes, there is a such thing as over salting, so please do not do that. That is not what I'm suggesting. But if you're putting just a little bit of salt on, like a whole bunch of potatoes, then you're not going to be very happy. When you can see the salt, because think of the inside of the potato, there's no seasoning in there, so the outside's got to be salted, where the inside now mixes with your mouth as you're chewing it, and it's a pure delight. So these little potatoes, I'm going to put them on the pan here, and I'm going to put those in the oven first, off to the side. Alexa, set a 11-minute timer.
11 minutes, starting now.
Thank you, British Alexa. So, potatoes are starting. The pork is holding, and the wings, it's not cooking yet, because by the time the potatoes will be done, then the pork. Wait, what am I talking about? 32,000 things at once. So now, let's think of a sauce, or maybe a salsa or a relish. So I have a nice heirloom tomato. I've got the avocado that's left over from today's tacos. which were dynamite, by the way. There's a video coming for that down the road. So starting with this, and we're not going to do cilantro, but we may tweak that just a smidge, meaning we're going to keep it kind of more American with that. Oh, I got some sage. So it's not really sage season. However, sage is all right, you know what I'm saying? I could, so I'm always, so there's no game plan if you've not noticed yet. I have nearly no idea what I'm doing. Technique-wise, I know what I'm doing, but when it comes to a recipe, I don't follow recipes too much. When you know how to cook techniques, then you're going to know how to make anything you want. It's all about proper cooking techniques, like I just said, but then also seasoning. From there, you're good. Get a thermometer and cook it to the right doneness, because that's the third key of making sure you're not serving crap. And if you don't do any of those, I'm quite sure you can still serve dynamite food. Actually, I know you can.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience.
I'm looking at that tomato, and like this may be a weird question, but it like oddly seems like it has lots of extra or weird seeds. Is that because of the type of tomato it is?
Type of tomato,
Okay.
yeah, heirloom. Some have a lot less seeds. Some are more meaty, like the Roma for sauces. Let me go back here and see who. All right, there's no comments yet. What kind of tomatoes do you guys like? Have you planted anything in the garden? That's one of the favorite things. So anyway, kind of back to that Roma talk. So something with a more meaty, less seedy is good for sauces, because if I would turn this into a tomato sauce, I'd have to cook down all of that liquid or remove it, which I wouldn't want to do. So that's where sometimes when you hear the grandma, great grandma Maria would cook her fresh tomato sauce for 12 hours. It was because, you have a whole bunch of tomatoes. There's a bunch of liquid in there. In order to get the right consistency, that liquid's got to cook down, which is giving dynamite flavor, right? It's concentrating the flavor. So speaking of another key component of home cooked versus restaurant cooked, is going to be the concentration of flavors. When you concentrate flavors, and let's help these guys out at, all right, so let me finish the concentrated flavor talk. Concentrated flavor it does what it says. Like, it makes it more of a blasted flavor, not too salty, but through that reduction. And really, you can have if the tomatoes were cooked down, equal amounts of liquid as opposed to the pulp. So when the tomatoes cooks down, all of that liquid concentrates, giving a nice dynamite flavor. And then I just forgot where else I was going to go with that. Oh, so the skin, the avocado is very soft, and the skin is soft too. The first time one of the times someone saw me doing this for the first time, cutting the avocado like this, they went in pretty fierce with the knife, and then their hand was on the other side. So don't do that.
Good.
Don't do that. Remember, the avocados are very soft, and if your knife is very sharp, which really some people aren't used to, then that's when tragedy strikes. All right, so I have right now just the tomatoes. I'm actually not going to put the citrus in because we talked about, depending on the acidity of the tomatoes, I may or may not. I want to keep our area clean. So we have our tomato and avocado. Again, that salt, I'm going to want to make sure that's seasoned well. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of pepper. I guess we can finish this up right now. So with this one, I'm going to go in with a little bit of garlic. I'm going to grab 1 raw garlic, and then we're going to add a little bit of that oregano. Ooh, red wine and vinegar. So I'm sitting here thinking chimichurri is a dynamite dish, a sauce, for something like a roasted pork. The pineapple kind of throws sometimes some kinks into what's going on, but this one I'm quite sure it would work. And the good thing is, if it doesn't work, that's some learning that just happened. So I was thinking about building kind of a chimichurri in this tomato avocado mix. So there's parsley, there's, what's this called? Oregano. I don't need all of this oregano. There's a little red wine vinegar, a little bit of the olive oil, some salt, garlic if I didn't say, sometimes lemon juice. But we'll do a quick cut. Well, I guess we will do all that oregano. On the oregano, we'll give it a toss. We'll give it a mix. And we'll give it a taste to see how far we are.
Oh, the TikTokers don't get you see test that. You might want to do that again.
Let me taste that. So, that one, the tomato, great flavor. The avocado, of course, it's hard to beat avocado. Not a bunch of flavor in the avocado. So the oregano, we're gonna let that kind of hang out a little bit. And really, we're in the middle of moving. So I packed my zester. I think I wouldn't do citrus juice, but some nice lemon zest in there may be good. Actually, would be good. So this is a new oven. I've not cooked out on it a lot, so I'm going to check out potatoes. They're working. So as soon as the timer goes off, we'll add the pork, and then I'm quite sure we'll be good. What kind of veggie can we do? I have some, what's that called? Cauliflower. Cauliflower that was in the same state as the pineapple, because I got them on the same day. It's not as beat up as the pineapple was. But I will show how I trim up the florets. I'll do this one over here for you homeboys and girls in the TikTok arena. But I'm going to put it in a bowl. I've got that core, and then I'm going to just start cutting down. And then for the YouTube, don't worry, I didn't forget you. But you cut down kind of to the center of the core. You can pull that out. Right, there's the core, and then we have the florets, if you will, easy to break free. And then, depending on what you're using it with or for, you may break those down into smaller pieces, leave them whole. But typically, you're going to want those uniform. And again, like, is it the end of the world if it's not uniform, if there's some big, some small? No, and sometimes that works out because some people like more cooked than others. So in that case, if you're on the home front and the kids like it tender, but the other kids like it less tender, then have some big, have some small. Bada boom, bada bing. Oh yeah, what are we going to do with this?
Your little YouTube camera is just kind of like in La La Land.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't see what I'm airing over here.
Oh, okay. I guess that's right.
We're going to go with me. We're going to go back to me. So the cauliflower, actually think I'm going to almost rice some of that, and it's going to go in with the pork. So this is that Stealth Health. we're going to add some small cut cauliflower, which should cook down and be nice and tender by the time, oh yeah, we listened to her and you guys can't see this now. Sorry, very sorry. We'll go back to the three-way, no, two-way. So we cut, make it nice and small. So we're hiding some of that delightful cauliflower nutrition. Alexa, stop. Into the pork dish. So the pork, we can see, I believe you can see, I have the onions, the pineapple, the garlic kind of cooked down. I've seared the meat. I don't necessarily want to cover the meat up. Actually, I'm going to pull that up and shake it so that's on top, so it gets more of that dry heat around. Because when we roast, we want the dry heat. It doesn't make a huge difference if you're not doing all of these super technical stuff. No, if your salt is right and the doneness of the meat is right, that's a fine starting point. But it's hard to fix a piece of chicken breast, boneless, skinless, that has been cooked 40 degrees past its prime with no salt. That's dry, nasty crap. So I'm kind of flipping out mentally because all this stuff is all over. All right, back to where are we at?
How are the potatoes?
Well, potatoes are totally fine. So the pork is in, the potatoes are in those Hasselback potatoes. So I'm going to take some garlic and I'm going to chop the garlic up. So how I said the garlic would cause an issue if it was cut small, and you still can't see me. Let's fix. Whoops. I don't know about a co-host. I'm not ready for that. All right, so back to the talk. Garlic. So the garlic is very fragile, and as I am talking, I will cut some garlic. I'm just going to take 2 cloves of garlic, and I will trim that those nubs off. And if you want, you can smash it. Give it the old smash ski, and then give the rock and chop. This one, because it's being added to the end of cooking on the potato, again, so it doesn't burn, I do want to make it small because I don't necessarily want for this dish a bunch of kind of halfway cooked garlic exploding in your mouth. So we'll mix this with a little bit of oil just to help it out again. So oil creates even heat as it's, whatever it's touching cooks. That's one of the reasons why we use it. We'll put it actually in the first potato pan. I'll put it in there because there's a little residual oil and salt and pepper. I don't necessarily need to salt the garlic, but I will be. So that's going to, I would say when the potatoes are 5 minutes out from being done, I'm going to toss the garlic in, or I could get a little butter and kind of saute that little bit of garlic. Actually, I have a stainless steel pan. Let's do that, shall we? So that way, I don't have to worry about, I've got some butter here. I was going to save for the sauce to enrichen. So this will get hot this side, but I'm just making sure that nothing burns. Let's go back There we go. There we go. I'm still getting used to the picture-in-picture, what buttons what. So this is the way, kind of going back to it, once that raw garlic flavor is cooked out, I'll be able to just toss this garlic in with the potatoes at the end, and that would be totally fine. And then if I want, you know, because cooked butter and raw butter taste different. Once you cook butter, the milk solids, the water, and the fat separate. The milk solids are going to have the most flavor. So we don't want to cook those out, or we don't want those separating. So this is what it's called, you know, the 3 ingredients, sorry. There's 3 ingredients in there, and I can smell the butter, I can smell the garlic, so that quick cook time is all I need. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Back to the butter conversation. This is emulsified. Emulsified is taking 2 or more unmixable liquids and then having a uniform mixture, homogenized, well, yeah, sometimes homogenized. But the flavor of whole butter is way better than that of cooked butter because of those milk solids. So what I can do is finish this with that sauce, and actually I don't have any more timers, so I'm going to check how we're doing. I know nothing is done, but I want to check it out. So the potatoes are looking quite nice up top, up, down low. You're too slow. Just kidding. Big brother in me.
That
Sorry.
was awesome.
Yeah, so we can see that there's some stuff happening with these, but I'm going to put them back in. They're not done yet. And I will say, I think I kind of wish I would have used the convection oven. Convection oven, that heat is blasting, just making things hotter, making things more intense. So we have, what do we have so far? I guess I can work on our salsa. So this one is for the potatoes. I'll put that on the back. We have, oh, actually, we can do one more thing. I've got some chicken I can brine as well. So the chicken is going to be for tomorrow. But since I have you here, this one is chicken tenders, raw chicken tenders, not deep fried, breaded already. But in order to get, you know, chicken, in my opinion, must be brined every time. Is it the end of the world if it's not? No. But is it way, way, way better when it is? Yeah, it's way better. And so again, if you, like, I have this recipe in my head for 40 pounds of chicken, scaled out 200 grams of salt, 100 grams of sugar, 60 grams of granulated garlic, and then 15 grams of pepper, black pepper ground. That's for 40 pounds. But if you don't want to do any math, then just, like I said, season it about like you would, maybe a little bit heavier, and then that, you're going to be good. Can something be over-brined? Yes. Can it be under-brined? Of course. But cooking is not a destination. Cooking is a journey. So if this time, if I know, like I remember how much salt and, you know, brine I'm adding, then I'll pay attention to how it tastes, how it feels when I cook it, and then from there we'll be good to go. So this one I'm going to put in the fridge for tomorrow. I still don't know what I'm going to cook tomorrow, but I at least know I'm going to have some brined chicken and or pork, because remember that second pork loin is going to be brined as well. Well, it is brined and is going to hang out. So we can get into the brine a little bit if you want. We can talk brines. What's up, Twin? What's up, Star? What's up, Evans, Kate, Nancy, Danny, Mike? Ooh, Heather. So many people. Man, it's so exciting. Oh, I got a gift too. Sorry, I'm so horrible. I don't know what all this stuff is. I will one day. Don't you worry. So the brine works by, and I guess I can pull my raw pork out here again. Salt, it pulls out moisture from food. And I think a lot of us know that. We understand that. But the thing is, like when it's contained, the salt in the brine is going to pull out the moisture. Then it mix with the salt, creating a slurry. And then the meat sucks back in the brine. And anything that's marinated or brined, it's not going to go more than 2 inches deep. So if I have a 4-inch piece of meat, it's going to be good. Because we have 2 inches here, 2 inches here, 2 inches here, 2 inches here. But if you have a big cut of meat, and I've done this with the first ham that I brined myself with the raw pork, leg, it was big, and I did everything that I thought I was supposed to. I didn't inject. So when I cooked the ham after, it was 2 weeks, then the outside looked beautiful. The inside was gray because it never had any of that brine. So the salt pulls out the moisture, it creates a slurry, then it goes back in. So when you go back in, that salt mixture, it's seasoning all the way to the inside. So that's why it's way better. It holds moisture a little bit better once it's brined, and it's seasoned all the way through. So brining is the only way to, chicken and beef, did I say, yeah, chicken and pork. I was just thinking beef. A lot of times beef won't be brined, but I was kind of starting to brine it a little bit recently, and I was told that the texture would change too much, and you shouldn't brine. I mean, things are brined, the sauerbraten or the corned beef, but brining of beef, it's been okay as well. I was happily surprised because, once the inside of the meat is seasoned, then you're off to the races. Part of that is already done. All right, so what am I doing? Back to, I think we're on hold. What do you guys want to talk about? Mike, what do you want to talk about, boo-boo? And I think I can see the comments from here. And let me, 3 new messages. Where'd they go? I can't see them. I wonder if the message is sent privately. I got a Rose. I got a Gigi. I got a Community Fest. Let them cook. Dolphin. I don't know what any of these are. I'm so excited though. Thank you so much. So I guess what I was talking about earlier. What up, Dustin? Sean Maynard. Maynard was my grandpa's name. Andrew. So yeah, I cook, man. That's nearly the only thing I know how to do. I do some gardening too. We have some peppers out there. A pepper from a pepper I cloned from last year, and now I have. There's like a dozen peppers started from the one clone. That's kind of a long story, but anyway, we have a lot of good stuff. And then I have a basil plant, 2 years old, which is unheard of. Typically, 6 weeks later, you're like, this thing's crap. It's all over. It's going to seed. But there's, I had a couple low, powerful lights to get them through because I'm in Indiana right now, about to move to Ohio, back to the Buckeye State. Excuse me. But what was I just talking about? Son of a gun. The Buckeye State gets me every time, just loses all track of everything. So we're going to, all right, well, I guess what's coming up, I can talk about what's coming up. So I know I have another pork tenderloin. I know I have some chicken tenders. I love tacos, but I'm thinking about making some fresh pasta. And, I've got crab meat as well. So maybe some fresh pasta, like with some tomato sauce. I've got a jar. This is me walking to the pantry to grab the gold. Grabbing the gold. So this, you know what this is? That's right, that's the San Marzano's, fresh picked and canned. So the last one. and we're going to make some tomato sauce with that. We're going to get into some Alfredo. So I'll do some raviolis. I'm not sure what I'll stuff the raviolis with. Maybe crab, because like I said, I have some crab. I want to do some sushi coming up. So this week is going to be chock full of, you know, all kinds of stuff. And again, today there wasn't much plan laid out. I pulled out product that I had. Some stuff I knew I was going to use, like the pork tenderloin, but other than that, I want you guys to be comfortable just opening your kitchen, looking in the pantry, seeing what you got, and piecing it together. So we can do something that is super awesome, I think, is where, you know, I'll let you guys know the list, maybe beforehand, or, you know, as we're filming live, broadcasting live, streaming live, and I'll say, should I use cauliflower or asparagus? And then you guys tell me, hey, I want asparagus or cauliflower or whatever, and then I can say, should I cook it this way or should I cook it that way? Let's add this. You know, I have all these fresh herbs. I have plenty of dried herbs and spices. Some of the stuff, you know, it's just fun, right? Cooking, it should be fun. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. What up, Wayne? Burger King. So my oven was not, the oven door wasn't closed before because the handle of the pan was making it ajar, and I think this is one of those ovens that doesn't cook at all if the oven door is open. And I know it's been in there 10 minutes or so since I checked last, but it's looking a lot better. I'm gonna grab a less damp towel and I'm gonna pull it out and we can kind of check out both of them. Lord David, how are you, sir? So the first one, and I'm actually a true fan of thermometers because it just takes the guessing away. And this one, actually, that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to allow this, so one thing I'm going to check. Now, cauliflower's good. We're going to let this rest. And as it rests, it's going to, you know, the carryover cooking is going to continue to climb up in temperature, you know, possibly because it's in that pan that was in the oven, 10 degrees. And then we have, watch out, that's hot, our Hasselback fingerling potatoes. And this is just easier for a delicate service as opposed to the Hasselback. Is it Hasselback or Hasselback? Hasselback, David Hasselhoff potatoes. Sorry, Dave, just kidding. But I guess I can put I pulled my butter over here. Do I want, potato down, potato down. Let's, what?
Potato down. Potato
Done.
down.
So we'll just drizzle this, and I think the regular Hasselback has Parmesan. Do we have Parmesan, miss?
No.
Whoa, unheard of, unheard of. So no Parmesan. We don't need cheese. We had plenty of cheese on our tacos today. I had a little bit of a ghost pepper cheese. She had the Chihuahua cheese, one of the all-time favorite taco cheeses. That's one thing that if you were here for a long time, you heard me earlier say that I was the executive chef of the Colts, Indianapolis Colts, and I kind of introduced them to tacos. Not that they had never had tacos, but I just made it a huge thing. Some of the most inventive tacos for the Colts, we did duck tacos, which surprised. I was a little surprised at how much they loved them. They were super dynamite. But we did venison tacos. We did, so the venison duck tacos. We did the standard tacos, of course. But then my most recent one, I had some rabbit and I smoked the rabbit and I made a kind of a quick tomato sauce for it. So I did a smoked rabbit taco, and I think that one was with the Chihuahua cheese as well, but they were so good. That one, it didn't go over quite as well as the duck tacos, but plenty of people, they tried it and they loved it. All right, potatoes done. And our sauce, where are we at here? So I can show you what I'm doing. And let's go back to everyone. There we go. So the potatoes, I'm going to pull that pork off. This is me kind of checking the inside. I'm wondering now, I actually think it may not be done. It was looking so good. That's done. I do want to turn it over though. So what I was going to do, I may actually do it. So yeah, so when you don't have a recipe, sometimes you have to just keep on thinking. And my thermometer is MIA. So the bottom side, because it was on the bottom side of the pan, seems good. And one thing, a lot of times I like to roast on the open pans because you can see that there's a little bit of a lift difference. This one's going to have the air flow on, and this was not convection, which makes a big difference. It makes, the taller side, it's harder for that air to get in, especially when it's not convection. So what I'm kind of trying to say is it can cook a little bit different in a thicker pan. So exactly the same temperature, you know, maybe you've done it before, the same dish, but your pan is different, then that it changes a lot. So the reason I flipped it over is kind of that carryover cooking that we were talking about, because I was going to pull the pork tenderloin on the pan with the potatoes. I can turn my oven off and I'll put it in there to as the heat comes down to keep it warm. But I was going, actually I'll do that. I'm going to put this in the oven I'll keep the door ajar, and then we can finish up over here. So we can see there's heat. One of the big issues when we're, I had some miso. So I'm going to taste this. That's nice. This miso, it's not got a lot of salt in it, thankfully. So I am just going to put a very, very little bit. Little goes a long way. Even though it's not salty, in some misos, I mean, they can be a blast of salt. This one, not so much. So again, it's not Latino style as far as our salsa. There's no citrus, there's no cilantro. We went oregano with it. I still hit it with the salt and pepper. And then I'm going to finish this sauce with the butter. And then, so we talked butter heating up too much and not having as much flavor. So all I need to do to kind of either make a butter sauce or finish with butter, monter beurre, mound with butter, is have the product hot enough to melt the butter, because that's where the flavors are going to stay super dynamite. The issue with too hot of a pan, that butter is going to separate, and we talked about the flavor of like cooked butter separated and the whole butter just melted is night and day difference. So I'm excited about this. I will put, I've got some, I did wash this, a little bit of rosemary in. Actually, I'm just gonna Almost grabbed it. You guys were going to let me do it, weren't you? By now, though, it's probably, yeah. Well, it's still hot. It would have warned me, though, with the heat. It wouldn't have just grabbed me, slapped me in the face. So I'm going to bury some of this so I can have the, oh, mint too. I think we're going to go mint into that tomato stuff. Is that what it's called? Tomato stuff? Salsa. So the oregano, mint. I would like some red wine vinegar. I will say that. Balsamic, I would go very, very light if I did. Mint's going to wake it up. I'm going to throw some cardamom in there too. One of my all-time favorite spices. So the fresh ground cardamom. We don't need a bunch. Typically anything with tomatoes, I'm going to add cardamom. A lot of times allspice. If I'm cooking with tomatoes, I'm going to add allspice every single time because allspice added to tomatoes helps blend the flavors where you can't taste the individual flavors of whatever's in that tomato dish. So I added to this a little bit of mint, a little bit of cardamom, and we will taste. Got to taste along the way, man. It's good. So now let's get our plates ready. Let's not forget to clean our station. I'm usually a better cleaner as I go. It's so funny, I have my trash can right here too.
Sometimes we don't see what's right in front of our face.
That's right. Where'd my pork go? It's in the oven, silly guy, goofball. Okay, so you can see, I think, there's a little bit of liquid in there. Where are we at here? There's a little bit of liquid. So resting the meat is crucial because as you rest the meat is allowed to, kind of hang out. And, as it's heated, it kind of tenses up. That heat is saying, I'm heating, or whatever. So when you slice it right away, it's still all tensed up. So it pushes out the moisture. That's one of the reasons why dry, overcooked food is dry, because it pushes the moisture out. Once you let it rest, it becomes more tender. And if that liquid is kind of allowed to stay in it, it will soak up, kind of like that brine. It soaks up the brine slurry that it makes. It'll soak it up to 8, maybe 9% of that liquid, giving you a more juicy final product. So, make sure we don't burn our hands off. We're good here. We'll put plate here. We'll go on with our garlic butter cheeseless Hasselback potatoes. I always want to say David Hasselback. That is entirely wrong. Whoa, yeah, that's good. That's off to a fine start. I'm going to put a little bit of our vegetable, rosemary, pineapple stuff down. That'll be the veg, if you will, the fruit and veg. And yes, I still play it like it's 1993. Very sorry for that. Actually, I'm not. So we want to cut against the grain. The grain of the meat is like if there were strings putting that together, that's the grain. The grain is going this way. So the grain here, I want to cut against the grain because that's going to give us a more tender product. What's up, everyone? someone else just came up. I can't see myself anymore. I think I got kicked off.
Oh, it says unable to go live. The live ended due to internet error.
What a bummer. Did you just hear the reason for our internet error?
No, what did you say?
Well, I just, he spoke. I was saying
Oh.
all his bandwidth thieving. Oh yeah, I forgot you guys YouTube. You didn't you didn't get cut off, and I'm sitting here plating where you can't see. Anyway, where are we? So let's check this out, YouTube. If you're still out there, and I guess I'm recording it anyway. So the pork, once the pork rests and you slice it, then it looks like this. I should have cut one open when. So if you ever see a bunch of holes in your meat after you cut it, excuse me, that's saying I needed to be rested longer. Those holes are, you know, everything's so tense and that juice is being pushed out. Once it rests, the holes, you know, everything relaxes, the holes are gone. So that's one visual way to tell if it's overcooked or rested. Man. That pork, man, cooked right on. 145 on the minimum internal temperature, of course. I didn't thermometerize that. I did the finger test, which worked out. Oh, I missed that Hasselback. That is so good. Like when I first heard about the Hasselback potatoes, I was like, yeah, whatever. But when you do the fingerlings, like you get that whole bite and like there's a bunch more, but not as much in your mouth. You get more of the good stuff. That slicing really doesn't make a difference. And then our veg. Turned out nice. The pineapple does work with the cauliflower. Anything's going to work with the pork. I have the avocado, the salsa, like this whole thing screams dynamite. Bon appetit! Over and out. Peace.